up, near the end. But without further ado, let me introduce our panelists, these wonderful people here in front of me, and our moderator. First, we've got Danielle Anderson from Denver, Colorado. She's built her business around one clear mission, helping buyers solve the two biggest obstacles in home ownership: cash to close and monthly payment. She's widely known for her message of, I help you buy a home for $1,000, and for pairing house hacking strategies with education for both buyers and real estate agents. Next, we've got Adrian Hall from the Knoxville, Tennessee area. He's a loan officer and real estate investor who's used house hacking as a foundation to build his own portfolio. His story includes learning hard financial lessons early on and using real estate as a way to regain control, create stability, and build long-term wealth. Next, we got Matt Dickens from St. Louis, who took a unique approach to understanding housing affordability by conducting some man on the street interviews with college students. It was an eye-opening practice. And alongside his wife, he also lived the house hacking experience firsthand and now focuses heavily on education around early ownership and long-term thinking. Get the door by 24. And then Graham Nadler from Columbus, Ohio, a house hacking educator and originator who focuses on helping people understand how to use their primary residence as a wealth building tool. He runs educational programs and courses designed to make house hacking practical, approachable, and less intimidating for first-time buyers. And last but not least, and of course, our moderator for today's mastermind, someone who continues to bring tremendous value to the industry through his podcast and coaching platform, the founder and host of the Loan Officer Podcast, also known as TLOP, Dustin Owen. Many thanks to you, Dustin, for being a part of this conversation. This is your show from here on out, so I'm going to turn it over to you, brother. I'll keep an eye on the chat and the comments, and let's just get this party started.
Well, I'm super excited to be able to connect with you, Connor, again and participate. I have a friend on here and Danielle, so that's super cool. I had no idea that Danielle and I were doing this together. And I have some new friends on here with Adrian, Matt, and Graham as well. So I look forward to learning from each of you today. And, I get to be the most inquisitive person in the room, and that's really my goal. My goal is to ask the questions in order to pull out the information for one sole purpose, so the rest of us can learn, right? So much of what we do is swiping and adapting. I'm a big, firm proponent that if it's new, it's not true. And if it's true, it's not new. So for most of us, like, we're not reinventing the wheel, but what we are going to do is we are going to look at what's working, follow those patterns, implement them into our work routines, and then leverage them for our future success. And what better to learn from but people who are already in the trenches doing it, so that this isn't theory. It's like, no, dog, I actually know what I'm doing. I have the scars to prove it. And for some of us, I even have the paychecks to prove it or the bank account to prove it. So going in no particular order, right? Some people would say, oh, ladies go first, but then Danielle's like, don't put the pressure on me. So, what I would like to know a little bit, and it's the personal side of things, right? This is a whole entire call on house hacking. So us as loan originators, yes, we can use the wealth that we generate doing loans to go multiply that wealth by ourselves being house hackers, i.e. Adrian, right? I.e. Danielle, probably Graham and Matt collectively. But it's like, how do we use house hacking as a topic to get our feet in the door with real estate agents? How do we use house hacking as a topic to get a financial advisor to want to meet with me? Or how do I use house hacking as a way to get someone in my circle of influence to want to call me and pick my brain about how I can help them facilitate a transaction where house hacking is a part of it? So my first question is, I'll go ahead because I picked them on already. I'll go to Adrian. Let's go to Knoxville, Tennessee, right? It's Knoxville, right?
Correct.
Let's go to Knoxville. Are you a Tennessee Volunteers fan?
I'm in the area, so you kind of have to be.
Okay. All right. Well, your coach Josh Heupel was once our coach down here in Central Florida. Hope he's doing a good enough job for you. But I'm curious for you because you are a real estate investor. You're a licensed originator as well as a real estate agent. Is that right?
Not a real estate agent. I'm an
Okay.
investor
You're
and
just
I'm
an
a loan.
investor and an originator.
Yes.
Okay. How did No, let's do this. From the borrower's perspective, what advantages do you think house hacking offers that maybe most people overlook?
Mm. So I think an overlooked thing about house hacking is number one, how I got started was for house hacking that is. I bought a house that had a basement. I spent $500 on some clearance kitchen cabinet like cabinetry and countertops and put that in, ran it out to friends for a little while, considered doing short-term rentals, but didn't. And one of the benefits whenever I sold that house in 2021 is that the person who bought it was an intergenerational family. So they were drawn to it because there was space upstairs for one family and a kitchenette and a whole living space downstairs for another. So you got to be careful with zoning, but that's something that people don't think about, especially with the affordability of houses and everybody living longer than they ever have before. If you can get in this space, you make money, you grow your own wealth, you grow your own future, and if you don't want to divest from that house, there's a built-in value factor that other houses don't have, meaning that there is this additional living space in it.
Yeah, because I mean, you've used house hacking yourself. I'm curious if you don't mind sharing with the audience, can you share a time that your ability to house hack, what it did for you financially?
Yes. So I don't know if you all were around March 2020 when something called COVID hit the country. House hacking saved me because when we were in that interim of like, are we all about to be unemployed? Is anybody going to move before, raised it what they did and we all lost our minds? I was able to look at my budget and sit down and say, okay, awesome. Here's what I have in savings. Here's what I have with the other rental house that I had at that point. And with the rent that I had coming from our basement from the house hack, we were fine. Like she at that time was covering almost half of the mortgage payment for the whole house by herself. So I knew bare minimum, I had my bases covered. Like everything was going to be okay. I was able, the entire time that I had somebody there, I was able to take that money that she was paying and put it aside in a high yield savings account so that about 2 years later, after my house hacking journey began, I took all of that money and used as a down payment to buy a new rental house outright, or not outright, but with the down payment. So it just depends on how you leverage it. But for myself personally, approaching it the way I did, knowing peace of mind, like bare minimum, I have this roof over my head while the whole world is upside down, and then being able to take that and build something bigger. Like the tenant in that house has been there 7 years, and that's 7 years of stable income that I've created because of the house hack I did before.
No, I love it, and congrats on your personal success. Like these are great stories that I'm confident you use when you're re becoming relatable to a prospective home buyer who themselves is looking at house hacking. Can you think of one or two strategies that you currently deploy as a way to promote your business through house hacking?
Yes. So this isn't even house hacking specific. This is rental property specific. My bread and butter is being a loan officer, being a branch manager. And so in every single lease I've ever done, whether it is house hack, whether it is 12-month, whatever the time frame is, I have a clause that basically says, if you buy your house with me, I'll break your lease for free. And I have done that more than a few times where like my tenants get very comfortable with the relationship we have. I send them holiday cards and I check on them and I fix stuff whenever it comes up proactively. And so I've sold three different houses to three different tenants because they knew, oh, I trust Adrian and I have the flexibility of not having to manage like timing my lease with finding a house. That is in a loan officer conversation, something that you should be doing because you can control the entire narrative. And also you get a commission. So when they move out, you know you have money to cover the house being vacant for a minute.
I love that. What a cool way to think outside of the box. I'm gonna flip it over and let's slide up into C-Bus, right? Let's go to the national champions for 2025, right? The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, didn't get a chance this year, but you kept it in the Big Ten, right? Your little brother just what's Indiana? A little south? Is Indiana south of Ohio?
That'd be a little
East,
west,
west?
maybe some south, but yeah, we're
Yeah.
happy for the little
You're
guys, you know.
happy for the Hoosiers. I have a couple questions for you. Before I do, did y'all get a chance to take a look at the sign right behind Adrian?
Yes.
I freaking love it. Absolutely love it. I need to get me one of those. Um, Yeah, there it is. You didn't wake up today to be a weak ass bitch. Pardon my French. I'm just reading it. So I told my mom, it's art, mom. I'm just reading the art that's on someone's wall. No, I love that. All right. Sorry about that. Quick rabbit hole. So Graham up in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
Dude, you've done an awesome job of educating people about house hacking through classes and courses. Can you kind of walk us through how you do that, especially for those of us that are interested in using classes and courses as a way to
Yeah.
attract realtors and home buyers?
Yeah. Like Adrian, I've also got started in real estate investing myself through house hacking. So it's something that I feel really strongly about. And so if you have done that in the past, it's easy to relay to people. But as far as the classes go, I've kind of noticed the type of person that's interested in house hacking. They're not a skittish. I mean, it's dealing with people. You guys know how it is, but it's somebody that's serious about improving their life and improving their situation. So a lot of times, if you put together a credit repair plan for somebody, the chances of them following that are a little less likely. House hacking people I've noticed are serious about taking the steps to get to where they want to go. So the classes, what I talk about a lot and really resonates with people. You talk to anybody on the street and you talk about real estate investing, most of the time they perk up. It's something that people are interested in. And so there's some carryover house hacking to get started, and then you kind of get into real estate investing, like Adrian's saying. But what I talk about a lot is, and this is a great thing for us as lenders too, because it's not just one transaction if you do it right. So you're educating them. What are the benefits of house hacking? Low down payments, 3.5% down, 5% down, as opposed to 20 or 25% down. A lot more accessible capital wise. Monthly payments, you're having a tenant, tenants, roommates split your housing payment. So I just had a buddy that bought a 3 unit property in Columbus. He put down 5% and he's renting out two of the units to tenants. He's splitting the other remaining part with his girlfriend. So their housing bill is like $500. So it really opens up a lot of opportunity for savings, future investings, to repeat the process. And so that's what it's really exciting to get to talk about for me to people in house hacking. And then what it's kind of funny because I have to stop people that have never bought a property before and say, hey, you guys, they're like, I want to buy one a year, two a year, blah, blah, blah. And you help them get there. They're not going to shop you around like somebody who might, sell their first house, usually the first time. They're like, oh, whatever. You help them get on this path to what could be financial freedom, equity creation, building a portfolio. So that's the power of the vision of the classes. And real estate agents are all for it because not a lot of people are talking about this. I've noticed in my market, it's a pretty niche thing. So it's not my entire business. But the more I focus on it, the better attention that I seem to get. Instead of, hey, realtor, you want to get coffee, you want to get lunch, which used to be my strategy. If you want to talk about house hacking, it's a lot more powerful to get in front of people. People are interested in it. And if you're the expert telling them how to go about it, it's huge. So that's been my experience.
So are you teaching classes consistently? And if so, are you teaching them to realtors? Are you teaching them to the consumer? Or are you and realtors partnering together and teaching them to people in both your collective databases?
Yeah, so I have not done classes to buyers yet, but that's one of my goals for this year. I've done classes for real estate agents, and I've gotten some pretty good turnouts. Um, and again, it leads into not just buying one property to house hack. A lot of people, sometimes they just want one, but a lot of people want to get onto the journey of investing in real estate. So you can kind of educate along the way. And the realtors are also interested in doing this. They're just like us. They make money, they're in the real estate industry. The guy I just mentioned that bought the 3 unit, that was a real estate agent. So they're interested in doing it personally, and especially for clients that are kind of on the fence right now to take care of the affordability piece really is powerful for people to get off the fence.
Have you created any content with your realtor friend who just bought the triplex?
Not yet. I'm working with a videographer. It's a little slower than I'd like. I do have an Instagram that's focused on house hacking, so I'll put that in the chat if people
Okay.
want to check it out.
Yeah, because I mean that's a piece of content you could shoot so quickly,
Yeah,
right?
it's on my
Here's how
list.
Joe and Mary bought a tribe. Here's how Joe and Mary own this $600,000 property in New Albany, and it only cost them $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
something like that.
Telling the
Hey,
story.
Danielle. Oh, go ahead, Graham. I'm sorry.
No, no, just saying telling the story. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Danielle, coming your way, when Connor introed you, he talked about one of your taglines is how I can help you buy a home for $1,000. What does that look like? What does that sound like? And more importantly, where'd that come from?
It came from the two largest first-time home buyers. So my ideal client is a first-time home buyer that makes between 120 and 200,000 that wants to make money off their home and doesn't know how. And so the two biggest challenges for first-time home buyers is down payment and monthly payment. And so if I can handle the objection of how to get you down payment with $1,000 out of pocket, which is essentially just taking a 3% conventional loan, comparing it with a 4% down payment assistance program that we have in Colorado, or we've got a national one that also gives 4% down, paired with seller concessions of 10K to cover all closing costs, the interested party contribution or the for the down payment assistance program in Colorado specifically is $1,000. So they have to bring $1,000 to the table, and that can be their inspection and appraisal, and then literally they're getting part of their earnest money back at closing. So that handles the down payment fear of so many first time homebuyers still think that they have to put 20% down or more, or like more than $1,000. So my marketing is like set to that. And then a lot of agents don't even realize how to structure an offer to make that work. So then I'm teaching agents how to pair down payment assistance and how to have that tagline so that they can get more buyers to at least meet with me to handle the objection, and then pairing that with house hacking of like, hey, I can help you buy a house for the same amount you can pay in rent. That flips the script. That also gives me meetings with agents because I can say, hey, Dio, I know you're a big producer. I know that you meet with a lot of different lenders and lenders want your business. Here's why I'm different. I don't want all your business, but anytime I want you to start asking these questions. I want you to start asking if I could find you an up-down single family house that we can lock off and Airbnb guests can have their separate kitchen and separate entrance in the basement and it can cover half your mortgage, would you be interested? Right? That starts having conversations in people's minds of, oh, maybe that $4,500 monthly payment, which is the average monthly payment for a $700,000 house, you know, it then creates possibility so that client that would have gone to a different lender who just gave them a fee sheet of, hey, your rate's 6.875% or now 6.125% or whatever, and here's your monthly payment, that changes, oh, hey, Dio, I'm going to wait a year to buy to, oh, okay, Danielle showed me a cost of waiting analysis. Danielle showed me how I can take a single family home and make it a sneaky duplex and add $1,500 and put up a barn door. And there are places that have a separate kitchen and a separate entrance and what I should look for. That helps my agents get more clients because now that waiting to buy is now somebody that's buying within 60 days because they were educated on the how. And I think that is the most important part of this house hacking, webinar is just showing that a monthly payment can be what they're paying in rent if we're offsetting it with rental income. And so that's my like reason of comparing those two things together is we're handling every objection that first time home buyer has and we're biting it in the butt.
There's so many things to unpack there that I love that you said. The first thing is you're helping your realtors win, right? Like us as mortgage brokers and loan officers, our job is to help realtors sell more homes and make more money, period. Right? Sell more homes, make more money, and preferably look good while doing it. You're going to realtors saying, hey, I bet you have a lot of people in your database or in your farm area or in your network that think homeownership is out of touch because they can't afford it. Not that they can't qualify, they can't afford it. What if? What if I could show you and them how they could buy a home for $1,000 out of their pocket? What if that same home we could also get, if they are open to it, $1,000 a month in rental income to help offset that payment, right? If this is
Mhm.
something to be interested in, hey, let's meet. And I also love the fact that I know you've been well coached throughout your entire career, but you know who you are and you know who your avatar is, right? So few of us in the mortgage industry realize or have recognized that we don't need to be all things to all people, right? Like we know who we serve, we know who we are. Everyone deserves some of our time. Some people it's 3 minutes, some people it's 3 hours. The 3 minutes is, hey, you're not my ideal client. Let me get you in front of someone else who can help you. The ideal client is, yes, let me embrace you and spend the next 3 hours so I can teach you what I did. And you do have a really cool story, and I hope we can circle back to it. By the way, y'all, Danielle's for the most part in Denver, Colorado. She's not in Denver, she's in Frisco. If she's not in Frisco, who knows where in the world she is? Because when I first met her, she was living worldly. I'm talking like places like, I don't know, Spain and Argentina, while also being a mortgage loan originator. Danielle, how's the weather going to be? I'm supposed to fly to Denver tomorrow. Am I going to be able to get out?
I I didn't even know that we were supposed to have weather.
Cool. I don't know. Someone said, "Are you worried about the ice storm?" I'm like, I didn't know there was an ice storm coming, but I
I'm
know my
head
flight is
down,
supposed to leave at 4 o'clock
all
tomorrow.
business. Yeah, didn't even. My dad will probably text me that there's a storm coming in.
Hey, honey, well, real quick before we slide over and hear from Matt, um, briefly walk people through how old were you and where were you living when you first got into house hacking?
So I was 22 in Houston, Texas, bought my first house knowing that I was going to have long-term roommates. And I think that's the other thing to keep in mind is first-time home buyers, a lot of times they're living with roommates in a rental anyway. Right? So like the earlier you can get into the game, the easier it is. I'm 37. I don't really want to live with roommates anymore. Right? But at 22, you were just in college living with roommates. You've got your first job, you're making 60K, hopefully if they got a, good degree. So in some markets they can qualify or they can buy it with friends. So that's when I first got into it. And I will just mention, I just popped some things in the chat. These are all my resources for agents. And I would say that 30% of my business is actually House Hacker, but it's the one thing that gets me into a door to do a class at a real estate agency that like I've done classes at Zillow, right? They have their Zillow lender and they're pushing their Zillow lender, but I'm offering something that not every lender can. And then pulling them into like I've even got a listing breakdown, which is on one of those links of like what listing agents should do. So like here's the brokerages that specialize in house hacking. You should send an email to these brokerages. Here's the areas being really, really good on like if you're not a house hacker, like I think all of us are, but everybody on this panel is probably not. Right? If you're not a house hacker, you don't need to be. What you need to be really good at is what's the rules and regulations of the 5 municipalities around that. Then go do a training on when somebody can and can't like and what zoning they need to be familiar with because then you will be the go-to resource for that agent. So anytime if it's a investment property, if it's a house hacker, anytime they're thinking rental, they think of you.
Yeah. So I love your personal story because you were Houston, Texas. You rented out your rooms. You bought a place in Denver, rented out the basement. Then you bought a place out in the mountains that you rent when you're not using it yourself. And then when you're using the home in Frisco, then you've rented out probably your top floor of your home in Denver. Like, Danielle, and I know this could be know each other personally, but she embodies a house hacker, right? She's been doing this for, you heard her, 15 years now. And it's really allowed her to kind of stamp her place in her market, but also her place in the industry. And you don't have to be all things to all people if you can find the one thing that you truly believe in and be great at it. And then what you also said that I love is only 30% of your business comes from house hacking, but I would guess 90% of your appointments or 90% of your introductions comes from just this one particular idea. Then you get the introductions, you attract the right people, and the relationship takes off from there. Congrats. Hey, by the way, we all can see your bank account number up on your whiteboard. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, really?
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't that be funny if that was the truth? Hey, one last thing, Danielle. I don't know if you're doing this already in your market, but I bet you are. Like, how you're doing the $1,000, how to buy a home for $1,000. I've loved how to buy your first investment property with no money out of pocket.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, I'm teaching you how to leverage a HELOC on your primary, use that HELOC for your down payment. Right? But that's not what I call it. I call it how to buy your first investment property or short-term rental, right? Without any money out of your pocket. Then if you really want to get sexy with your words, you start saying, and use a investor specific no income qualification loan.
Interesting. Love that. as I've read the book 10x is easier than 2x, I don't like investors. They take too long, they shop me, I don't want to market to them. I'll take them, but it's one of those things that I've just like dialed down. 80% of my business was investors and second homeowners. But in 2023, when the loan level price adjustments changed, when you couldn't buy a second home, like I used to do all second homes, and it was like, nope, first time home buyers, they've got a lease up. It's a easy close. Typically, they're buying before they think they're even going to buy.
Yes.
And so I've really dialed that in with coaching of like, yeah, I'm not, I love the phrase if somebody's focused on investors and that's their jam,
Yeah,
go for it.
this look, this
Yeah.
is my heart smiling for you right now. It's like almost like a big brother being proud of little sister for finally having that. I was just on a coaching call with 6 of my clients right before this call. It's Connor why I was like sliding in the last minute. And one of my students was like, "Hey, Do, I have an opportunity to do a loan for a guy that owns 302 homes." My first question, I go, "How many are owned in his personal name?" He said 72. I said, "He's not your client." Like, he's like, "What?" I'm like, "He's not your client. You know how much time that file is going to take you? You're making $3 an hour." Like, no, we punt that, homeboy. Like, it's not that you're not professional, but you find someone else to go take on that paperwork intensive file so you can go back and, build more relationships, do more lunch and learned, make your TBD calls, post on social, everything else you should be doing to attract the right people. So I'm happy to hear that. But I was just sharing maybe for the group
Yeah.
who wants a reason to create content, to have something to talk about. Please know that, when we're on this topic of house hacking or investors or short-term rentals, if you want to use some marketing strategies, one would be, hey, swipe and adapt this. It's worked for me. Hey, let me teach you how to buy your first investment property without any money out of pocket. But
Yeah. And I
all right,
love Elizabeth
what's
Turris.
that?
Elizabeth just put something in the chat. How to buy a home for your aging parents with $0 out
Oh,
of pocket.
well,
Like, boom, dime,
yes.
different.
Aging
Yeah.
parents. What about your kids? Right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
there's so many things we can do with the whole kitty condo thing. And just this is the topic we're on. By the way, who in the hell let Elizabeth in? Like, can we stop? Like, Connor, I thought you were more selective about who you let on these calls. Like, what are you
Elizabeth can
doing?
join anything.
Oh gosh, this is open to all. Love you, Elizabeth. Good to see you, by the way. All right, let's go to Mr. Dickens. Not Charles, though.
No,
His great
not Uncle
grandson, Matt.
Chuck. Uncle Chuck, no.
Uncle Chuck. Matt, I want to learn more about your interview on the street. Are you
Mm.
still doing it?
No, I have. It's been a couple months. It's been a couple months.
Okay,
Really quick.
but what was the theory and the concept behind it? And how long did you do it for before you took a break?
Yeah, I mean, as loan officers, right? Like there's so many shiny objects, and so when you find an idea of like, oh, I'm going to market to first-time homebuyers, we can sit here and convince ourselves until we're blue in the face that college graduates don't know how to buy a house, right? I wanted to get my finger on the pulse to understand, is that true, right? Do they want to buy a house and do they actually not know how to buy a house? And so I had a couple questions that I was prepared to ask them. What's the average, or what's the minimum down payment that you need to buy a house, or what's the minimum credit score? It's really funny if you go on my Instagram. Some of their answers were, I didn't really expect them to be close, but they were so off, like so off. What's the minimum down payment? Someone said 120,000. Like they gave me not a percentage, but a dollar amount. So I'm like, wow, I am affirmed in this audience that I'm marketing to doesn't know these concepts. And so that was the point in doing the man on the street. But back to house hacking really quick. House hacking is how I got in the industry. Dustin, I've been following you for 6 years. And I remember just in the trenches, redoing my kitchen floor and turning on T-Lop while I was studying for my license exam. So,
Well, thank you for that.
yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for picking me last. And, I'm not going to take it personal, but,
Some people say they saved the best for last, Matt. I don't know.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah. But house hacking is a great way to capture the audience. The problem, like Danielle said, is they don't have money to buy a house. And when they're under ownership, they struggle to afford that home. And so house hacking solves those two problems.
Is there a certain way that you lead your business that you find yourself attracting more people who want house hacking? Like Danielle just shared, where it's 30% of her business, but it's easily 90% of how she makes her connections and starts her dialogue. Are you experiencing similar in your market, or does it sound a little different?
Yeah, I mean, my approach is like, I know this is how to point to realtors, and a lot of my business comes from realtors, but I'm also in the middle of transitioning to direct to consumer. And when you focus on the younger audience, just parlaying off Danielle, like investors, they are going to shop you. They've met five lenders, realtors. Like that's not the case for a direct to consumer approach. You know, they don't even know the qualifying guidelines and they've never met a lender. So if you bring in some information, they're going to be easily influenced and that connection is much stronger. And you don't run the risk of them shopping you and you wasting your time. I find that I convert more by marketing to the consumer versus marketing to the realtor audience, specific with the house hack strategy.
So when you say you're going to go consumer direct, are you doing this through like virtual workshops? Are you doing this through like meta ads? Like what's going to be your strategy? And are you going, this is me being now curious. Are you
Mm.
going all in, or is this just going to be you saying, I'm going to continue to maintain the relationships I have, but any new intentionality or new resources are going to be focused on trying to get to the consumer before the
Mm.
realtor or the builder does?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, full disclosure, what I'm working on right now is expanding my digital footprint. Um, by going like yesterday, I was at a local college, Lindenwood, and I spoke to about 40 students there on buying real estate soon after you graduate. And I hinted house hacking and the
Yeah.
concept there. I have a lead capture for them to do an early opt-in to my first time homebuyer course. So my goal is to market to the consumer, build a lead pool, convert on that. So then I'm the one passing the realtor's leads, which, as we all know, a lead to for a realtor is gold.
Yes,
So
it's the easiest phone call you can make
yes,
is, hey, this is Matt Dickens calling from XYZ Lending. I know we don't know each other. However, I have a qualified buyer who needs representation. Are you interested? Right?
right.
Like that's a no-brainer. Have you thought about lead cycle? Like, so you're going to local colleges, or and you said you're going to expand your content. Are you thinking YouTube? You thinking IG, TikTok? What does that look like for you?
I think it's keep it simple, you know, not go too wide on this. I have momentum on Instagram
Okay.
right now. And it's weird. It's, you know, that's one thing I wanted to bring up too is when you are showing yourself on Instagram as a person who's going to speak to college students, but in your coffee meetings to realtors, you say you care about first time home buyers. When they see you do that, it affirms that you are who you say you are. And I find that as I increase that activity and post this content, my phone is ringing more often with realtors having a positive impression. So yeah, but to answer your question, I really just want to keep it simple. I think us loan officers really like to do too many things at once. At least speak for myself. So I'm going to focus on IG. Right.
Perfect. Well, I mean, and honestly, you listen to the gurus like an Alex Ramosi. He's like, pick one thing and be damn good at it. Like, be the best, right? So for you, it's saying, hey, I'm going to go IG, but it's not just creating the content. Because for most of us, we create content so that we can remind the people who already know us who we are, what we do for a living, and how we can help them. Or we use our content as a way to get our foot in the door where someone feels like they already know us because we're creating content so that when I do reach out or I am referred, then all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, I know of that guy, I know him, and it makes it easier. Rarely do we find the Jordan Nutters of the world, the Rebecca Richardsons of the world that are creating content, the Jennifer Beesons of the world that are creating content at such a high level that it ends up being a third of their business if you're Rebecca, 70% of your business if you're Jordan, and I would guess probably darn near 90% um if you're Jennifer. But like I'm friends with people like Greg Share over at NFM Lending who run like this massive like originator centric like content collective, right? If you're a content creator, it's there. And the one thing that Greg has shared with me is it's definitely a longer lead cycle. So I'm sure you're probably planning for that because you have to create the content, then they have to either DM you or click some kind of a link. They go into a funnel. Your bot and your retargeted ads need to go into play. You push them to either a webinar you're doing or a course you've already provided, right? And then,
Exactly.
like, do you have that data yet that you can share with us? Or are you still in the midst of building this out to where maybe the next call Connor does, we can feature you and others, and it's more about the lead flow and you can have that data?
Yeah. No, it's not built out yet. We're about 80% through the course itself. The landing page for the sign up is built out, but that's the important part, right? Course is great,
Yeah.
but it's capturing those leads and then having automation to get them to the bottom of the funnel.
Correct. And is your course one something that you record one time? So then when they get your free course, it's a 10-page PDF, it's a 30-minute uh produced video, but it's not having to be you live on camera like we are right now.
Yeah, it's about 18 to 20 videos. It's all video. Um, 5 modules and self-paced.
Dude, congratulations. Like that is so future next level. And for anyone who's thinking about doing it, I mean, I'll speak for Matt. Like what he's embarking on has been a lot of time, a lot of money. He's 80% of the way completing it, but he's easily 12 months before he's starting to see real ROI. But when you're playing the long game, no, you're like you are truly playing chess. You're not playing checkers, and you're thinking of the next 10 to 15 years, not the next 10 to 15 months. Congratulations. Like I can't wait to have a conversation like this with you 12 months from now to really get you to share how things are going. Connor, I know that you have time for Q&A, and I've seen some people hopping in the chat. I was hoping I could do like a quick round robin where I can ask each panelist one question, kind of spitfire, let them spend 60 seconds answering it, and then maybe open it up to group Q&A. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah,
Does that work?
absolutely. And for anyone who's watching that has questions, just start throwing them out in the chat and we'll get to them. But yeah, Dio, take it away.
Perfect. Uh, Adrian, I'm going to start with you then. Who who is the ideal person for house hacking? Like when you're
Mm,
looking at whether it's a realtor or it's a borrower, like what does that ideal person look like? What's their makeup?
good question. Okay, I would say the ideal person to be involved in anything rental property related, you have to have a little bit of risk tolerance, but somebody who understands they don't want to get rich quick. They're not going to make $1 million on day one. They want the slow and steady growth. Somebody who wants to be hands-on as well. Like if you are the type of client or the type of investor where you would rather just get mailbox money and not be done, like not deal with it, house hacking may not be for you. So if you want to learn the trade, learn the people, learn how to vet people, learn how to manage your home from a rental property standpoint, that's a really good place to start because you know the house. I'd also say people who are a little tight on money, to be completely honest, because if you're going to be living anywhere in the residence, whether it's one of the units of a 1 to 4 unit complex or it's a basement bonus room scenario, something like that, you can utilize down payment assistance. You can utilize FHA, lower down payment stuff, which is not available at all if you're buying it as a straight up rental house. So, in my opinion, kind of like what Danielle said, anybody who is used to having roommates, anybody who's a little tight on money and would like a little bit extra, or people who are trying to slowly build that portfolio and take the next steps, it's a really good place to start.
Cool. Go back 5 years, talking to yourself 5 years ago. What's one piece of business advice you would give to you 5 years ago?
Ooh, business advice.
Yeah, knowing what you
Oh.
know now, like knowing what you know now, knowing what you've
hmm
experienced, you got one thing you can tell that guy 5 years ago. What would it be?
Mm. Um, don't take everything so personal. That would be it. And it actually, I think it was Matt who said it. The comment stood out earlier of investors are going to shop you around. I'm in a short-term rental market. I started heavy with investors and kind of grew from outside of there. And every time somebody didn't go with me, every time somebody found a better rate or think they found a better rate, I took it as they were voting against me and all the knowledge I gave them. But if I had recognized earlier, that's them, nothing to do with you. Here's some things you can do to pivot and get more control of your career. I would have saved a lot more grief along the way.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Graham, I'm going to slide over to you.
Yes.
What what is one thing that is exciting you about the future? When you look at our industry, you look at your career, your book of business, what's the one thing that gets you excited to get you out of bed every day?
Yeah, I really appreciate what Matt was talking about. I'm in the process. Well, I've actually done meta ads on Instagram as well. And so it kind of opened my eyes of one, totally agree with Matt. And I'm in the beginning phase. So hopefully everybody else can do it better than I can and everything. But I did notice my phone rang a lot more with realtors. They were more eager to talk to me than maybe they had been in the past because the exposure. I spent money on putting really nice looking videos out. So I'm really excited about kind of also doing the direct to consumer angle a little bit more. And Danielle, to your point, I cut my teeth working with investors, and I was like, man, during COVID it was great. It was like all these West Coast investors in my market, and then it got harder. And I agree, it's like a DSCR call. I'm like, oh man, like
Oh,
they're gonna just call like 20 and not even be able to do it. But I say that to say I kind of thought about who I wanted to go after as well. Of post grads have a salary, aren't making too much where they can't qualify for down payment assistance or whatever it is, but they have their stuff together. So that's been really helpful. I agree with you guys on that. But yeah, as far as being excited, the Instagram and social media, I'm really pumped about. I don't have like a guide I send out yet or like a lead magnet there yet. I'm in the process of building a landing page, but it's really powerful, is what I've noticed at the early stages. So I think it's exciting for all of us to get it more into that kind of thing.
Last question, quick hitter. Looking back on your career, what's one thing that you would tell anyone else getting started? Oh my gosh, don't do that. I did it, didn't work out. Wish someone would have grabbed me earlier and informed me not to touch it.
Um, Yeah, I think for a long time I was the let's get coffee, let's get lunch, lender. And for a while it worked, and then it didn't work, and I was, to Adrian's point, like getting mad and kind of taking things more personally than I should have. But start thinking about ways to be unique. That's how I started with this whole house hacking thing. I wanted to have a different angle to talk to people about, and so my advice would be to think of ways to make yourself unique. It's one of the things I saw like on Instagram. And if you're doing social media and you're doing this kind of content, like you're a step ahead of people who aren't. But I was just getting these terrible lender ads. It was like a badly designed Canva ad of like get pre-approved. There's no value there. So think about what value you can provide. Like Adrian said, it's easy to feel like it's taken personally, but people want more value. So it's a buzzword, easy to say, but that's what I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, how to provide that more.
Perfect. Danielle, what's the best thing that you have done for yourself as it pertains to being the business professional you are?
I think it comes from that 10x is easier than 2x of scaling. So I got asked to be a author in a first-time homebuyer book, and it was because I was dialed in on house hacking. So my Instagram, and it was from a stranger. Um, and then all my classes, all my freebies, all my everything is dialed in to house hacking and being the expert in that. And if you're not a house hacker, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe it's I'm gonna get so dialed in on buy before you sell. And it's knowing everything about programs on that. Like, so I think that just getting, like Graham was just mentioning, getting into what is your niche, because when people think about making money off of a home, whether it's investor or that's they think of me, and it's my in when somebody has a different lender that they love, they still send me clients that are open to making money off of a home.
Last one. What's one of the favorite books you've read besides 10x is easier than 2x?
Um, I'm reading right now Buy Back Your Time. Uh, I'm getting, I just hired my first full-time assistant and it did not go well. And I fired my first full-time assistant. So now I think I have 17 loans going in February. And I am like strapped for time. So wanting to hire right and an offload, and I have a whole spreadsheet going of like what tasks am I doing right now that I can delegate. So if you're in the scale mode, I think that's
Yeah.
been a great resource.
Buy back your time has made easily my top five. It was one of the
Yeah.
most influential books I read in 2025. And it was given to me by a branch manager who's one of my coaching clients. He recognized I needed it and he had read it. So I love it when like the students like going to the mentor saying, "Hey, homeboy, you need this." And it was like, man, if there's a God, God put that book in my life at the right time. And yeah, so highly recommend it, especially for those looking to scale, because if you can't buy back your time, you can't scale. Alrighty,
Can
Miss.
I answer
Yeah,
a
yeah,
question you asked somebody else? It was like,
yes.
what would I wish I would have done? Um, I was in my files. The moment I got out of my files, I could scale.
No
So,
way.
right? So once you hand it to processing, that you should have done a good enough job on a pre-approval that they can figure out how to get a bank statement before closing. Like, do not call that client for a bank statement. When a text comes in, I forward it to the processor and the processor calls her. And so I can focus more of my time on getting new business instead of, uh, I think like that was my biggest catalyst of growth.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, Matt, why do realtors like to refer you?
Oh, okay. I mean, I think in this business, you have to have three characteristics. You need to be credible, you need to be relatable, and you need to bring value. And I've really thought about those as I approach new and existing business partners. What I don't do is show up to a coffee meeting and talk about how much, how many great programs I have. Like I talk, I'm sitting here talking about myself, but what I'm saying is in those meetings, I don't talk about myself. It's always, how can I help you? What is your pain point? And so I'm always directing those conversations there. Um, Again, kind of answering this question with Graham is social media is a great way for these realtors to watch you live your life. You can only impress someone for so long in 30-minute coffee meeting. Well, if they follow you, they can start building that familiarity of your personality, how you educate, how you speak, if you show up. That's why I've really leaned into the day in the life things to not only show them that I am showing up, but also to show them that I'm a real human being. And it breaks down that barrier of, okay, he's a loan officer. What does that even mean? Oh, he's actually a human. He's a dad. He goes to church. He eats dinner. Something about showing you in your personal life has really helped break down those barriers and create easier initial conversations with realtors.
Yeah. No, I love that. One, I'm going to swipe and adapt. And by swipe and adapt, y'all, I mean steal. But I'll make sure I give Matt credit for it. Credible, relatable, bring value. Three things. Like three things. I once had a coach tell me that he fired one of his coaching students. I was like, why? He goes, the guy's not likable. He's like, well, what do you mean? Why'd you fire him? He's like, well, if I don't like him, realtors won't like him. If realtors don't like him, he won't get any sales, but he'll blame me because he's not likable. He's like, so I didn't want to take him on. And I was like, yeah, we don't talk a lot about are you likable, right? How do you sound? How do you dress? How do you smell? How do you show up? Your word was relatable. So I'm totally stealing because I wrote it down, credible, relatable, and bring value. And then something you said about personal. So I learned this. So one of the coaches for me is Rebecca Richardson. She's the mortgage mentor on social, right? 100 plus thousand followers on IG and TikTok. And what's crazy about her is she's like an even way better human and a way better originator than being a great social media personality. But she coaches our students that to be personal but not private. And I was like, oh, I love that. Like, I don't have to share my private life with you, but I definitely have to share my personal life with you if I'm ever going to be relatable. So, my last question for you, Matt, is what scares you about the future? What keeps you up at night?
Oh, how much time do you have?
Not
Um,
much, but we have to get to the comment
you
section.
know, I think this, and this is why I'm transferring and transitioning into the build your personal brand aspect, because we have Zillow, we have all of these digital lenders to compete with, and I think it's incredibly important to build trust with people so they know that you are the first person to call when they pursue homeownership. I think honestly, the days of sucking up to the realtors and then they refer a lender, like, I don't know how sustainable that's going to be. I'm still working on that, but I'm also on the side trying to build this digital footprint. So without question, I'm in front of people. I build an impression over time. I build trust, and getting them to use me is much easier.
Yeah. No, thank you. Hey, Connor, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to you so you can moderate some of the Q&A aspect. Uh, Before I do, I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. Tomorrow, I have a free masterclass that I'm teaching. It's my holy grail. It's like when loan originators are like, Dio, I don't know what to do every day. I don't know what to do each week. I don't know what to track. So it's our daily success tracker. We call it the blueprint. I recently had a loan originator take the blueprint. He did double what it says to do. And last year he funded $98 million in volume. So there might be a little proof to the pudding, but I want to invite all of y'all to hop on it. It's the one free masterclass I do a month, but I only do this one 4 times a year. And I'll be honest, it's my best one. So the link is in the chat. And then the last thing I was going to ask as a favor. This is a favor. So if we didn't bore you today, my favor is this. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. If you could just go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, that's your way of saying thank you to me. By the way, we have a ton of free content all over that YouTube channel, like Mortgage School and Coach's Corner and Talk Mortgage to Me, plus the podcast. But more importantly, it's just me selfishly trying to get to 30,000 subscribers. Um, yeah, Joe, I just threw it into the chat, but the channel is T-Lop Entertainment, formerly the Loan Officer Podcast. So the channel itself, because it hosts more than the podcast, we just call that T-Lop Entertainment. I'm sure if you went to YouTube and typed in the Loan Officer Podcast, it'd take you right to the T-Lop page. But the link's in the chat as well. Connor, thank you for letting me do my thing. Guest, you guys freaking rock. So hit me up next time you're in Orlando. Maybe we can do some content together. But Connor, I want you to go ahead and get these questions answered that are in the chat box.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Dustin, for moderating. Amazing job. I think we had a lot of really great conversation there. We're coming up on the end here, so we might run into bonus time. So if anybody has to jump off, believe me, totally do it. Like, not going to hurt my feelings or anything. But I was curious, and I'm going to be selfish here. But what questions can realtors ask their buyers to identify if that buyer would be interested in house hacking?
I'll take that. Yeah. So I have them ask, are you open to roommates? So like that's number one. No, not open to roommates. If we could find you a house that we could separate into two and you live upstairs, like you kind of do in a condo right now, and we have a separate kitchen in the basement, would you be open to that? So that's like a completely different style, right? Roommates are like sharing a kitchen and everything. Then, oh, you're not interested in that. Would you be interested in a house that, or if you were gone to Telluride skiing for the weekend and you locked your bedroom and bathroom, would you be open to strangers renting it out via Airbnb when you're not using your house anyway? If you're a teacher and you go to Europe for 3 months, are you open to renting out your house so you can pay for your European vacation? Or shoot, it's cheaper to live in South America, so you go down as a teacher and live for $300 a month and you're renting your place at $2,000. So those are start getting buyers thinking of like, no, I'm 37, I don't want a roommate, but heck yeah, I work remotely and I don't want to be here all the time, so I want to be able to offset my mortgage and still be able to vacation. Um, then it keeps just going. If I could, if we bought an ADU where it was a completely separate dwelling in your backyard, would you want to be an accidental land? Like, so all of those questions get down to the need, right? And it starts with, what is your monthly payment goal? And if they're renting at 2,500 and their monthly payment goal is 2,500, well, shit, you're gonna get a $300,000 condo that's a one bedroom in Denver, Colorado. Right? So like at that point, that stops with any other lender or agent because they don't want a one bedroom condo. They want a single family house. And they just didn't realize that a single family house is really $4,500 a
Mhm.
month. So then you start asking those questions to dig deeper of like, are you willing, what are you willing to sacrifice? You either sacrifice space, location, or privacy. And privacy would be the house hacking in my
Very
market to get into the game.
awesome. Love it. This
Hold
one,
on, just real quick. Space, location, or privacy. Love it. That's
And I
that's
think
so
you have
true.
to pair that with a waiting to buy, right? With here's your monthly payment. Because so many people, and actually jot this down if you want a good takeaway. I started doing this on your Zoom meeting, when you're meeting with a Zoom consult on your pre-approval meeting, have them look up the house they grew up in on Zillow with them because that is appreciation gain, right? It's a visual of appreciation gain. Then I take that and I say, if you are renting in 10 years from now, what is your net worth going to be? And they like literally they might get their security deposit back. So then you do a rent versus buy, which MBS Highway has a great one. I think it's like $20 a month, maybe $75 a month. Uh, and so then they can start thinking of 10 years from now instead of month to month. Because if we look at monthly payment in my market, they're never going to buy. Because from a monthly payment standpoint, renting is way cheaper, like thousands of dollars cheaper than buying. But if we look at all the advantages, that's how we get more renters into home buying quicker. And that's how you can be the biggest resource for your agent. Because if you're able to, like, my closing ratio is like 40% of people that call me, where the industry average is like 20. So if we can educate, that's the key to getting more deals done ever.
that. This one's from Natalia. What are some common traits of realtors who are also interested in house hacking or that will participate in this with you?
I'll take this one.
Okay.
I think the people that really perk up about house hacking are the realtors that are hungry. They either want to learn for themselves, they want to open up a new segment of clients for themselves. But if you resonate with wanting to learn about that, you want more out of life, out of your business, it seems like. So I think that's a great trait to partner up. Like I have this guy right now who I really think is going to be awesome. He's on a team. He lit it up in his first year. He's super interested. We're going to go to a class about investing, whatever. But I think that is a common carryover for a lot of the realtors that would be interested in this. If you're, past the point of needing to do this or work with people that need to do this, then they might not be as hungry. And then if they're a little bit younger and kind of getting started too, it's a little easier to get in front of them sometimes too. So I think, yeah, being hungry is a big trait of these kind of realtors.
Awesome. Another question was, besides FHA, what other strategies can be used to lower the entry point?
I guess I'll jump in. I think I have the right answer. So, here in Tennessee, may vary across the nation, our state agency for down payment assistance will fund up to 4 unit properties. So, if you want to get into something bigger, that's an avenue. At the same breath as well, like if you're trying to do a true house hack and have it all under one roof, any type of loan product would work. So, conventional FHA, VA, any of that stuff. I've not done one yet, so rusty. But conventional, you can always do 3% down if they're a first-time home buyer, but they also recently loosened their guidelines for down payments for multi-unit properties to get a little bit similar to FHA. I want to say it's 5% down if it's owner occupied. I
Yeah,
could
it's
be
five.
wrong. All right, look at my
And
memory.
you don't have the, oh my God, what is it? Self-sufficiency
Mm,
test.
Yeah.
Like we
yes.
don't pass the
Yeah.
self-sufficiency test in Colorado, so we almost always have to go for conventional.
Yeah.
Yes. Hold on, I'll expand on that super fast. So FHA has a self-sufficiency test, meaning that if it's over 2 units, so 3 or 4 unit, the collective rent has to support the overall mortgage payment, regardless of what the borrower can do. Conventional doesn't care at all. So there's options. You just have to think about the creativity of the person.
Love that. And then let's just make this the last question since we're a little over time here. Is it wise or is creating a good profile to help realtors identify upfront a good way to go? Meaning, like, should they be looking for borrower or buyers that are single, young, used to roommates, someone with lots of friends, renting, etc.? Or is that helpful to let them know, hey, if you have a buyer that fits sort of this, maybe you should ask those questions?
I can take this. I took that question as like, is creating a profile on social important? And I I honestly think it's one of the most important things that you can do as a loan officer. Um, Kind of speaks to the same point of you telling your whoever you're talking to how great you are does absolutely nothing. But if they can find you and see for themselves who you are, what you do, it will open so many new doors. And one tip, there was another question is how do I personally attract and pursue realtors? Once you have a great profile on, let's say for Instagram, for example, what I do is I engage. Do not be a silent follower. I started doing this a year ago, and it's a hockey stick of if you just people don't want to immediately meet you, right? So just like their stuff for 3 months. It's the long game. If you're in this business for the right reasons, you have the ability to play the long game. Like their stuff, comment, and then every once in a while, send them a DM. And then after a couple months, then after we've contacted and engaged over maybe 5, 6, 7 times, I then get that proposal to meet in person. And the conversion on that is like 70%. But it's good to have a good profile in order to act on that.
Love it. Well, guys, I appreciate you. Does anyone want to share any parting words or any last thoughts or comments before we finish this up once and for all?
Connor, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
a really
Thank you,
talented
guys.
connector. So if you guys don't
I
follow
appreciate
Connor
that.
more, you should.
I appreciate that. Well, thanks everybody. For anyone who's still here, this will be, released tomorrow as a new podcast episode. So thank you for joining, and thank you, panelists, everyone, for being a part of this. And I just appreciate you. Bam.
See you guys.
Thanks so much.
See you guys.